5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live with Neve. This is Live with Neve. Iconic musicians, comedy, and God knows what else. Hold on!
Welcome everyone. What have we got here? There they are. Wow. Calm yourselves. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Here we are on the ever-entertaining Live with Neve show. I'm going to steal more of Rush Limbaugh's licks and see if his estate sues me or something. Tut-a-lot. We have a drum update. What is happening, folks? Today's episode of Live with Neve, we're going to be having Call-In Friday. We didn't manage to dredge up a guest today. We had a dead guy who was going to show up. He was a former voter, but he's disappeared now. So can I tell you, he's one of those disappearing people they found out was dead in the Chicago election. I don't know, what can I tell you, people? It's out there, you know. So there's all kinds of wacky stuff in the world. And for the sake of both of us, it's just a live show, uncensored, unedited, and really totally unscripted because we didn't have a guest today. I really didn't know what we were going to do. So as I advertised earlier, we have Ask Neve Anything or Ask Bill Anything. Someone was mentioning the other week that they thought Bill was the straight man on the show. And I laughed because I said, well, he is. That's, you know, he compared to, you know, we're pals, but we're both really different guys. You're much quieter than I am.
Oh, we each have a different style, but I'll tell you, if you get me in the right day, I could probably do some cartwheels over you too.
I'm sure you could, but you know, you have things to lose in life. I'm already damaged. You know, you have family. At our age, remember, if we get too crazy at this point in life, unless you have a lot of money, you're not eccentric. You're just a fucking lunatic down the street. When you have lots of money, it's sort of like that movie 10 years or so ago, 50 Shades of whatever you're into.
Yeah.
And that was one of those mass hypnosis things that happened because it's spread by word of mouth. And the thing is, if you got some guy who's living out in West Virginia in a shack and he's a UFO fan, I don't mean the bands, I mean the guy who thinks that he's been abducted and had his probe. I don't know, what can I tell you, people? I don't know. I mean, you know, seriously, where do they find these people? But these people inhabit the world, you know, and they're out there. So getting back to it, neither Bill nor I have, you know, abused any farm animals in our life, as far as I know.
Definitely all rumors not contrary.
Here.
I can't speak for you, but definitely not here.
No, I've seen people or heard stories. That's why I moved back from the South, because down there it's frightening. I knew when I was 12 watching Deliverance that shit was going to happen bad if I went down there. And yeah, that whole, I forget another comic, he said that Ned Beatty in a pair of bathing suit trunks.
Oh, God.
Was no match for a bunch of hillbillies. I was just like, when I was a kid, I was like, I'm looking at it just freaking out, going, what the hell? I couldn't believe it. I knew what was happening, and I couldn't believe that was on television. I was a kid, you know. What the hell?
Yeah, there was a guy that I used to play music with years ago. He lived in Howell, in hillbilly country.
Oh, yeah.
And he knew, you know, that people would make comments about, you know, being in that part of Monmouth Ocean County, to where he had a sign up in his home studio. It was a yellow hazard sign like you'd see on a roadside with a picture of a sheep on
it. Remember, people, one of Neil's 100 rules for life is bah in whatever language means no. Okay? Bad. Seriously, people, if you're out there and you're a member of the Afghan Goat Aficionado Club, you're not welcome on Live with Neve. We're not going to have a debate about whether you like animal husbandry because it's just bad stuff, you know? I mean, think about it. We're here talking about goats right now, and People buggering them. And that could get us on the immigration topic if anybody out there is really needing to get on that
Oh boy.
topic. We have been bludgeoned to death with it on television, killed and bludgeoned and fucking. At any rate, what can I tell you, people? It's getting crazy. You turn the news on every freaking day. We're dying in Iraq or Iran, excuse me. Same shit, different day. I'm flashing back to my college years when first job out of college, I'm in a suit and I'm wandering around a beautiful mall in Palm Beach, Florida, taking it in. And my job was I was an audio engineer having to do an analysis of the mall and its sound system. And it was during the Bush the Elder term, the reign of Bush the Elder, the CIA president. And I was sitting there, and it was when he wasn't hiding yet. Actually, he said, Saddam, and get Saddam and drag him out of a freaking rat hole. That happened with Bush the younger, didn't it? God, time flies together. It was two Gulf Wars.
Well, it was Bush the younger that got rid of Saddam.
Yes, he's the one who went back because Poppy was sitting in the wheelchair going, "You gotta get him, that little bastard. He got the best of me. And a man like me cannot afford to be made to look like a fool." I'm getting my people confusing the Hollywood guy in The Godfather with Poppy Bush, can I say? You think about it, though, Poppy Bush was pretty cool. He was completely dangerous and diabolical. I mean, but when he's like 81 or so, he tells his kids, "I'm going up." He goes up in a plane and bails out and shoot on. I think that to everybody out there, if you've ever wanted to do something you've never done, it's great. It's worth it. You'll be scared crapless the first time. But after you've done it, it's just like, woo! You're a little beat up. That's my plan for when I'm in my 80s. Hopefully my kids don't ever see this show and realize my plans. If they want to get even a dime of the inheritance, they better sign off of that when I'm asking to be checked out of the nursing home.
Well, when you get to be the age we are, Neil, you get a little bit fatalistic about that type of stuff. I mean, what's
exactly?
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I look at it in a weird way. It's always been a jaundiced view of death. I think the way I look at it, it's like I've always just figured, regardless of my religious inclinations to any faith, when you're freaking done, you're done. And I've seen people go easily and people go hard. And I'm not a person who ever wants to leave this coil of our existence until I'm well worn out. I want to come screaming under the grave, man, diving into that sucker when it's time. I do not want to sit in the bed and fester because there's a lot of things. For one, I don't drink, and I would reserve the right if I had something like ALS coming on. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to have a couple of beers with my friends before any one of us dies. Because at that point, it's like Warren Zevon said, the last couple of weeks of his life, he was back on the tequila. I don't think anybody would have begrudged old Warren a couple of shots while he's dying of whatever.
God rest his soul.
He was. God rest his soul. He was such a unique talent, and it's funny because the press always makes the most out of the most purient night of somebody's life, regardless of whether at the top of the barrel or the bottom. The press, if it bleeds, it leads, which is a good theory because that's the way to get views. But I found it interesting reading his wife Crystal's book, and when I had her on, it was interesting to me how there's 10 different views of Warren that I got from talking to like a lot of people around him, having him on the show. Everybody from Leland Sklar to Crystal Zevon to Jordan Zevon on to God, I'm thinking of Jordan. I never had his daughter on. She's a musician up in, they're up in New Hampshire or Maine. She's a musician and she looks a lot like Warren and not Crystal. Okay. Anyway, if you're out there, your first album was the first album. Let's get on to the second one. If you need a producer, you can call us. We'll get you some money and figures. We will arrive in Vermont, and you'll find us a guest house we can record in. big room, big ceiling, big drums. Can I tell you? She was very folky, and my first thing to do would be to break her of that. It's a bad habit. Folk music, friends don't let friends play folk music. So sometimes I just say this stuff, people, so that if you're out there, which it's a little thin at the moment, but that's okay because I know a lot of you guys watch it later in the evening, and some of you watch it at all kinds of strange hours because I occasionally look to see if anybody's watched late at night when I'm up doing the same thing you're probably doing. If you end up on this wretched portion of the internet. But so tell me, what's going on, Bill? What's up on your side of the world? Anything new and exciting out there in the world of retirement?
Oh, there are some things going on. I mean, the typical week for me is a combination of getting my podcast done. Propaganda is
Right,
about pretty much one episode every week. I have
right.
an internet radio show that is a 2-hour broadcast on radiogardenstate.com. So that goes every Tuesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
There's work with the band, which means a combination of rehearsal and the business stuff, which
Right.
the business stuff sometimes gets a little bit frustrating. I mean, the economy right now,
Yes.
I think, is scaring some people to where the good venues are very, very careful about booking acts if they're not certain
They
that the
are.
acts will sell, and that gets a little bit hectic sometimes. But
Yeah.
generally, things are good. I mean, I went to a very good show at the Count Basie last night. John Anderson was playing there,
Oh, right.
and I gotta
Excellent.
say, there are times that I mean, I know a lot about the history of John Anderson and about his time in and out of Yes.
Right.
And there are times that I'm sure he has not been the easiest person to deal with as far as his
Sure.
personality. He's been called by many people that he's worked with as Little Napoleon, and
I believe that's
and
perhaps
there's definitely a reason for that. The man is
justified.
driven beyond belief. But I got to tell
Mm-hmm.
you, he's 81 years old, and while there's a little bit of thinness in his voice because of old age, where he doesn't quite
Sure.
have the sustain anymore, he can
Mm-hmm.
still hit the notes. He can still
Yeah.
sing his heart out. He's wonderful to watch on stage. I mean,
It's interesting.
Neil. They opened last night with "Close to the Edge."
Oh my gosh. That has just blown the shit out of the place. Oh my gosh. And
They
how was
played
the
"Close to the
band?
Edge" in full, and then they followed that up without a break with "Perpetual Change." So you got a
Oh,
half an
yeah.
hour with 2 songs.
Wow, man. That's just great. I love that. Man. When I was a kid, I'd sit and play both of those records like one side and have to flip it. I'd flip it and play it. And I'd turn it on, flip it over again. And Fragile, that album, my older half brother, step brother, excuse me, whatever the hell he was, he had a great record collection. I purloined some records because he worked a lot. He worked at a restaurant, and I would be playing something. He might come home if the folks were out to dinner or something, and I'd be in there cranking away on Yes or ELP or a lot of stuff. UFO, Kiss. I had a very eclectic. I was young enough to get exposed to the Kiss thing. I never got
Nothing
to
wrong
see
with any of
them.
that. I mean, the
The
Kiss stuff
first
is a
Kiss,
little bit raunchy at times, but I mean, it's rock and roll.
it's rock and roll, and I have to say this: the show was just such a crazy, over the top type of thing that it's really hard to beat.
Well,
The
nobody else was
staging of it
doing
was
quite
so
that
far
at the
ahead of the
time.
time.
They
Exactly, the
broke out.
bombs going off, and
Yeah,
it's
I mean, Kiss
Gene
broke out.
Simmons is up there,
With the spitting blood and whatever else. Yeah,
yeah, oh, and lighting the fire, blowing it out over, burning people's eyebrows in the front row.
yeah. They hit it exactly the right time, though, if you think about it, because it really
Yeah,
wasn't until about 1975 that stage technology was sophisticated enough to
right.
do some of what they were doing, and
The hydraulics and the
they took
lights and
risks. They went
yeah,
out
oh,
and they
they
were
did.
among the first to do it.
Yep, they were very risky, and it was a good gimmick. They always said that the old guys that would book bands, and in Hollywood and New York, they're like, I don't know what it is. Do you know what it is? Hell, I don't know. It's fucking something those kids are listening to. We'll throw it out there, see what happens. That's how people realize that's still how most decisions are made by these people who can make records, folks. They've been doing this shit for 100 years. They have it figured out how to milk every penny. The lawyers carefully craft like a seamstress sewing up or a surgeon. They find every way in the first 20 paragraphs to tell you what they're going to take away from you. Actually, from the second paragraph till, say, the 39th. And then at the end, they tell you in just a few lines how much they're going to pull back out of it. And you're going to be a young person and you're going to say, God, that sounds like a lot of money. Oh my gosh, I could get a new drum set. And, these people go out to LA and it's such a brutal, it's like watching a trail of geese step in front of a fucking a semi going 80, it's just, you watch it and it's just like, I don't want to see that. Oh my God. It's such a vile industry in its present incarnation. It's just, but it's always really been that way. The truth is there's always going to be predators in any business that entices people to think they're going to have their dreams, the most incredible dreams they've ever had, all fulfilled. And you have that Tinseltown Express and everybody's on their way out there to get rich. And, it's amazing that if you are not very good and you go to LA or come to New York or Chicago or you go to Miami, you will be so staggered by how many great musicians, great talents are out there. I mean, even now with the musical education system, have you seen some of these young kids, 6, 7 years old? When we were young, the Suzuki system was the thing, but now there's all different kinds of classes that you can get kids to learn at a very young age, and their neuroplasticity is so moldable at that age. I mean, those are the kids who would be listening to Yes if they weren't learning classical music. And if they listen to Yes now, they would be like, wow. I mean, have you ever seen that video where they're at a school and they play Led Zeppelin for about a dozen kids?
I have not seen it, but I can imagine what it does to
They're like
minds that have not been exposed to it before.
They just were like mesmerized. They haven't heard anything like that. And
Well, the thing about Zeppelin is because it's so blues based, it's a combination of music, which I mean, the musicality of it is wonderful, but it's carnal too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's like,
I mean, it's tremendously.
I love making music, baby. We're gonna put on some Barry White and some Robert Plant, and we're gonna get thinking back to the Ludes and what was it, Coke and Ludes in the 70s. That's it. Not that I ever indulged in anything like that. It's been alleged, but those were all youthful indiscretions and mistakes of judgment from a young dumbass. Oh my gosh. I look back and I'm glad that I'm alive and relatively intact. Lost a few brain cells, but that's okay. I grow them back. I'm like a skink that gets its tail lopped off. It just comes back, I've been a drummer my whole life. I heal very easily. I don't take much to feed. Anyhow, we've been sitting here chatting for a moment, and I'm going to go ahead and play some of my favorite peeps. But I'm going to find them here, and I had to get rid of one of my favorite peeps. I kept getting dinged for his ad, which he paid me to do. And now every time I use it, I get dinged from him. And I commented, the guy, I tell you, some people just, I'm not going to say on the air because I don't want to shame him. But I'll tell you off stage, you'll notice by his absence, because it was a very long ad.
Gotcha.
And remember that fucker? I told you your ad should have been shorter. It was too long. People fall asleep or go get a beer. Fuckhead. That's what I say, people. Remember, he's going to hear that out of my mouth because I wouldn't do or say anything like that I wouldn't say to him. Just ask Kevin Sorbo.
Hey there, it's Kevin Sorbo here, and you lucky people, you are live. You're live with Neve or Neve. I don't know. I can't say the dude's name. Anyway, you're on live with him, so I don't know. I guess that's a pretty good thing.
Hey guys, my name's Eli Alger, and I'm here on Live with Neve.
Hey everybody, this is Steve from Reach for the Sky, along with Jay from Reach for the Sky. And you're listening live with me.
Like a melting flake of snow this year. It's sad to see it go.
Hi, I'm Darren F. Flynn, a singer-songwriter from Ireland, and I'm on Live with Neve.
I would have said it couldn't happen here.
That's right. You should get Nancy Kravitz to take pictures of your band. When you want to look like a star, even if you look like a local pumpernickel, we can do it for you. So call and have Nancy Kravitz photography and good stuff. What is that? Oh, that's a long ad. All right. Knock it off.
I was going to say, I'm picturing Wile E. Coyote falling off the cliff.
Fall off the cliff, exactly. So people, it's funny. I sometimes used to complain about this company that I use to host my show. And since they don't give me any kind of a break for advertising them, I don't tend to talk about them. But they're doing a good job, and that's what matters. They invest back into their product, and it's sort of like life. You invest in yourself or the people around you, you'll be rocking. And they have. Some young guys who started it, sold it to a nice big company, and they're going to probably sit around and think up their next cool idea to build. So hats off to them. I won't mention the new company because I don't think we have to gild the lily. I mean, my company I have now. If they started a new company, they'd probably know how to make this one even better the next time around, but we'll see. So we're having a slow day. We haven't really had anybody call in with any moral conundrums, medical problems. Oh, we have a comment.
We have Rick paging us.
Hello, Rick. What's happening out there? We're talking middle-aged spread with Neil and Bob. Excuse me. Bill's here. He sees you. He said hi to you too. Can you not see Bill or hear him?
I would hope he can hear me.
I hope he can hear us. So tell us what's happening up in Philly, man. Find anybody gunshot today? You know, or any weird crime wave being committed? Every time I look at the news from Philly, I just cringe. I'm like, damn, man. Not quite as big as New York, but crazy. That he is. I agree
thank
with
you,
you.
Rick. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Yeah, we like our friends. Definitely. You know, I'm sitting here looking at it. They really have improved it because we can show what people write to us on the screen instead of just what they talk to, which is kind of cool. It's got some other new features that I'm going to try to incorporate into next week. We'll see what happens. If you look behind me, that is a venue in Colorado that is quite incredible. Talk about seeing Yasser John Anderson. That is one great sounding hall. Really good shit.
Which venue is this, Neil?
It's in Colorado. I forget the name of the place, but it's out north of Boulder. Not north of Boulder, north of Denver, out near Boulder. What's going on in Philly, Rick? What's happening and exciting out there in the land of brotherly love? I don't know if anybody's watching this remembers Mayor Rizzo. The guy was like incredible, and he was such a cartoon. He was the stereotypical politician from the 50s in Philly. I remember seeing these guys. He went out and he was walking his dog one morning, and they they gave him the ambush, 1964 or whatever style journalism. Kensington, yeah, there it is. My new location. I'm going to be buying a house there. It's really cheap. Couldn't figure out why. There's so many nice people in the neighborhood. They're all stood over. They just don't even move when you walk by them. It's got people. If anybody out there knows anyone who's done that drug and has lived to tell about it, or knows someone who has, call in. We'd love to hear. What do you do with somebody like that? I don't know how the hell you'd help them. I have great feelings for their family and what they go through dealing with somebody who takes Flocka or whatever that stuff is. I don't even know what they take. It's some blend of ketamine and heroin and or not heroin, whatever that stuff they bring in from China. It's fentanyl. Not being an aficionado, like the last thing I want to get near. In fact, another news down in Florida man news. Some geek had a bunch of coke and was getting attacked by the dog, and the dog ripped into him and the coke bag and got fentanyl poisoned. They had to administer Narcan to the police dog. Just a quick personal opinion here, people. I think that when you've had Narcan given to you 4 or 5 times, I think you're done. I did a anti-drug commercial about fentanyl with my old guitar player and John Schneider, if you're out there. John Schneider, and we did it at his house. It was for the Monmouth County drug whatever program, some governmental agency. We had the firemen there, we had the cops there in Keyport, and Jack and I played a couple of junkies who were hanging around, drinking, smoking, drugging. He dies on the floor. My friend who filmed part of it, Nancy Kravis, the photographer, was there, and when she saw Jack hit the floor, she got emotional, seeing him down there playing dead for a minute or two. And I have to say we were method acting at the time, so I'm just going to leave.
Oh, good Lord.
We were misbehaving early in the morning, and it was fun.
I haven't had a chance to speak with John Schneider in a long time. He's very good people.
He is a great guy. He's a real character. I went to one of his events a few weeks ago. I just went along to help him out, kind of hand out some books and rush people through dress up in the Revolutionary War outfit. I was over there trying to get people into him, and they were like, "Who's this strange guy? Get away from my child!" What can I tell you? People are fearful for good reason, but I was cracking up. This is New Jersey, man. Get away from my kid. It's just like, but it was such a great thing. It was in, oh gosh, what's that town? Sayreville. And there's quite a history to Sayreville, which John has written a book about. And it is a great book, the history of that town. I didn't realize the depth of it, but he gave a presentation. He's done a video regarding it. And I have to give credit where it's due. People, John Schneider is one of the finest video editors I know anywhere. This guy's been doing this stuff long as I've been playing drums, and he is superior and very quick. I've watched him work, and he's picky, but he's good, and he's quick because he's been doing a lot. He's a very creative guy. He writes.
He does his own soundtracks too, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. I feel so lame. It's like hearing Phil Collins tell me how when he'd hang out with Peter Gabriel, he'd feel like, fuck. Peter Gabriel would have this set he was building and telling him about it, and Pete would be like, damn it. He loves the guy, but he's just like, he said his mind is just so out and amazing that, he said he's just a thing to hold, so to speak. And I believe that. I think Peter Gabriel is one of the most creative people. I think Phil is too. And a phenomenal drummer.
Phil is not quite as visual as Peter is. Peter is exceptionally visual.
No, he is totally visual. And honestly, every time I've seen him twice, and both times it's just unbelievable spectacle. I mean, I saw them where they had a round stage at one end, a traditional stage at the left end, like you'd all be in a concert hall looking at that end of the hall. Well, there was a conveyor belt you didn't know it was a conveyor belt. There was a catwalk between the two stages. And I have to tell you, it was in a big arena, and it blew me away. The show starts, folks, with Peter Gabriel. Of course, the big synthesizer, the whole building is shaking. And you don't see the band anywhere. They're hidden behind drapes. And all of a sudden, this big red phone booth pops out of the ceiling, up over the light truss, up there. Apparently, Peter was waiting up there for the thing to come get hoisted up there. And he comes down in this red phone booth. And then, as he gets out, he's standing there. He starts out with "Talk to Me." And he's in the phone booth singing "Talk to Me." And he comes out and he's doing the intros. And while he's doing that, he's walking forward. And it was really amazing, how cool it was. So he gets like halfway out, he starts wrapping himself up in the cord. And then he walks from one end of the arena with the cord stretched out. And he's wrapping himself up in it. They must have had fucking 600 yards. I bet the cable didn't even have a mic in it. It was probably a wireless mic he was using. But he gets halfway down, and then the catwalk starts, and it pulls him back towards the other end. And you're like, he's tugging against it, and it's dragging him, and he's fighting it, and then he ends up getting dragged back, and then all of a sudden it glides. And at that point, he gets right back to the stage. Huge bombs and shit go off like Kiss. And the whole thing rolls forward with the band on it, this huge riser. I've never seen a riser move that fast. And they just kicked in big time. And the place went kazoo. I got to tell you, there was these two rednecks. Yeah. I knew as soon as they kicked into it, it was just like, and these two big old rednecks, big grain-fed pork pig fuckers, man. I tell you, they were up there, and they were standing up, and they were dancing and shit, and I couldn't see around them. I was getting pissed off. So me and a guy behind me started whipping quarters and shit out of them. They're like, ow, ow. And they turn around, they look, and everybody's laughing at them because they sat down finally. It was pretty funny. But they didn't get back up after the third or fourth time because other people started joining in. They were getting pissed. I can tell you, that was funny shit.
I've got a Peter Gabriel story for you if you can indulge me for a couple of minutes here.
Absolutely.
You said you had seen them twice. I've only seen Peter once, but it was fairly early on. It was in 1980.
Oh, yeah. You had my friend, Jerry Murata.
Jerry Murata was on stage with Peter, along with Tony and with Larry Fast and David Rhodes. It was a
that
excellent band.
Yeah.
Now, this was in support for the third album, first tour they did for the third album, at the Dr. Pepper Music Fair in Central Park.
Oh, man. Wow.
So this was really Spartan on stage. No exploding bombs or anything there. This was the musicians playing without a net. Right. All the musicians were dressed in black, and all of them, except for, I think it was Jerry, had shaved his head.
No shit. Yeah, I remember those pictures.
Yeah. And what was interesting about it to me, thinking about it in terms of a musician's attitude on the stage and wanting to make sure that people are satisfied, Peter's playing songs mostly from the third album, which is the current one. But he goes back, I think, for like the third song, he plays an old standard. He plays Salisbury Hill. He flubs the lyrics. Second verse, he messes up the lyrics, and it's obvious. He continues. Band keeps going. And then for the third verse, when the song is ending, he gives you the tagline at the end, "I've learned the words, I've come to take me home."
Yep.
And the audience was just right on his side beyond that. But it even gets better. He continues playing, and he gets to another of the older songs, another one from the first album called Morris on the Burgermeister.
Yes, he does. I'm just commenting to Rick. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yep. And they start this song, and again, Peter messes the lyrics up. He starts singing the second verse instead of the first.
It happens.
This time, he flags the band down and says, "Stop, stop, stop." And he turns to the audience and says, "You guys paid good money to see this show, and we're not going to give you crap. We're starting that one again."
Good for him. Have you ever been in that situation and done that? I have. It doesn't feel good, but I've done it a couple of times myself and just said to the band the same kind of thing. All right, we're starting that over. I don't know where our head was. I never pick on anybody in the band.
Yeah. The drummer
Except the
in
bass
my
player.
band before he joined us was the drummer in a Tool tribute band.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Now you know that music. I mean, Denny
Oh,
Carey's
yeah.
playing in 17 in some of these songs.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there was one time I saw them where they're playing and they're getting to a juncture in the song where the time signature is going to change. And it's obvious that Doug, the drummer, and the bassist in the band are not quite on the same page and they just fall apart. And they stop. And Doug, thinking on his feet, raises the drumsticks.
But what better way to handle it? We've talked about it on the show when I first started, how inexperienced I was, that I was terrified to come on and talk for an hour. In fact, the first week, we've been on 5 years now, and when I first did it, the first year, I was so terrified for the first like 8-9 months until I got a producer, which helped immensely because, Julie, wherever you're at, I wish you well and hope you're doing good. I haven't talked to her in a while. At any rate, she gave me that platform of, what you have to do. And I didn't have to reinvent the wheel here. She had a good system. She worked at Y95 FM. And anything that I know, and I'm not a killer broadcaster by any means, but anything I know, I learned from her, and it was very helpful. One thing I learned is when things go run amok, let them. Pour gas on the fire, man. Just let it burn. If you're in the middle of a show, and for you musicians out there, if you're young, don't worry about stuff too much. Focus on your next measure you're playing. Focus on the bass player. Look around you and don't look at the hot chick in the audience. You'll get all stupid in the head. I've seen it too many times. In fact, you see the drummer and he's like, God, tell the guy, you might have to give them gunpowder in their food, saltpeter. So I'm told. It's what they do to sedate drummers in the old days. I don't know where I heard that. It could have been some kind of a BS story somebody pulled out of their tailpipe. So, you have any plans for the weekend?
Nothing in particular, really. I mean, I got some work to do for the band, probably get a visit from the grandkids, but nothing too far out of the ordinary, really. Hopefully, the weather will be somewhat cooperative. I mean, I'm hearing that there's going to be some rain in the forecast.
Oh, crap, not again. Oh, well. I don't care. I'm feeling good. We had an inspection here at the house, which we had to go through. It's just having to deal with the landlord and have her in the house for an hour or so with the authorities. It's just a pain in the ass. You got to clean your house. You got to go through all this stuff. Now, it's like when they say it's a man's world, trust me, people, it's not. And you have people coming into your house. In most households, the lady of the house is going to get, what's that place clean, man? Should not want to see any of your shit. Like stuff laying around the bass in the corner or the guitar over here. And my house tends to, I find guitars stashed in the closet. I don't know where they come from sometimes. I think the tooth fairy shows up.
The guitar
in
fairy.
various places in the house. And if anybody else is afflicted with that gear acquisition syndrome or gas.
Oh, God, yes.
Hell yeah. I mean, remember, guys, if you're a young band and you're not getting ahead and not making it in the world, you got to go out and spend $3,000 on a Les Paul from Gibson, an American. If you don't, you're just never going to make it, man. And then when you get that, you got to get yourself like a Marshall stack with not one cabinet, but two. And you're going to have two plexis, a plexi and a tube. And you're going to stack them. And then you're going to have splitter switch. You could be in stereo, or even cooler, we'll get you 4 cabinets and put them on stage, and you got fucking stereo, and you'll really be cool, and you'll make it.
Oh, louder and more expensive does not make you a better musician. It makes you feel better about yourself to a point, but you got to do the work.
Yep, there's nothing worse than having great gear and you sound like hell. It's not going to get better because of your gear. In fact, some of the best recordings I made, we didn't have jack shit for gear. We just had basic Shure 57s. We had an RE20 for the kick drum, but we used two 57s on the overhead and a kick drum mic, and that was it. We were in a room that had plenty of reverb with the basement. And I'll tell you what, my friend did have a big Marshall stack like that. I think it was so fucking loud. And an SVT for the bass player. Man, this shit would it'd send my stepfather into oblivion. Al Van Erdy, wherever you're at in the cosmos, probably not a good place where you're at, but I got to tell you, it cut through his head like a knife, because you got to remember, a bass amp like that, people, a little basic physics here for you. A long wave, which is like boom, 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 it's very long in length, folks. So what that means is, you see my hand over here, one wave is a cycle up and down. It's just like that, sort of like the economy under Democrats. Anyway, I'm sorry, that was a cheap slap.
Oh boy, I wasn't expecting that.
My mind goes in odd directions sometimes. Anyhow, I don't know. I lost my train of thought, folks. Can I tell
You were talking about long waves, and
oh, right.
bass
So
notes
what happens is
travel through the floor rather than the air.
yeah, what happens, folks, is when that wave, you can only hear it at the top, the bottom of the wave, and then it goes through the cycle and you hear it at the top. So there are what's called nodes. And in those nodes, if you have a bass frequency, it's going to be wider than my room here. If you take that bass frequency, put it into an SVT with 16 10-inch speakers, two freaking cabinets, it's so loud, people, that you can burst small children at about 80 feet out. They just implode, It's like dogs, small animals. I mean, and his head, poor guy. I mean, I hated his guts. He's a real bastard. However, it was funny. I could see him upstairs like this. I gotta say, if I was getting married to some woman and she had a 16 or 14 or whatever yard ape to deal with, who plays drums, holy shit, man! I would have run screaming in terror. I made some dumb mistakes, but not that one. Anyhow, bass devices are great. It's funny, the people who've lived through the car generation where everybody's got a boom car. The reason your car rattles is the effect we were discussing briefly, people, is where that big, long 160-foot sine wave hits your car from 6 cars behind you. You are doing it. You are bumping ass. You're going to feel like, I don't even know what to tell you. You got old dirty bastard in the back seat. Go home with your daughter or something, He was really nice, Dad. Yeah, sure. Yeah, old dirty bastard. My daughter was in the elevator with him and some other skivoid in Atlanta when she's going to college. I was like, I hope you got out of the elevator quick, kid. And they were, as we expect rappers to be, they were having a good time. They were not in any way unpleasant or rude to my daughter, folks. I was just making a quick joke about it because it was a lot of fun for them. And me being a protective dad, I'm like, oh, great, just what I want to hear as a father. Yes, I was in the elevator with a rapper named Old Dirty Bastard Dad. And she told me it ended well. I'm glad it did. And I know this, people. My daughter would no way go out with the guy. Not even a chance in the planet. I know my daughter. She does not settle. She's a smart young lady and just the best. I tell you, I'm always impressed by my own kids. Lucky, and that's one of the best parts of life, is having children and getting along with them. That's a good thing. I can all say this to all parents. I think we all go through a period with kids where we just want to throttle them, but we don't, because we love them so much. And
What's
they
the
pull
old
shit
line?
sometimes.
God makes your kids cute so you can't kill them.
Yeah, that's a very true thing. See, having 2 daughters for my first kids, there was no way I could even touch them with, a hand. Now, that changed when they got a little mouthy when they were teenagers. Now, I don't mean that I slugged them or anything, but one time my daughter said something to me, and I'm not going to say which ones, so they're equally guilty here. But one of them told me she was going to call the cops if I popped her leg or something. And so I kind of was like, called my friend, one of the guys who be at the club all the time. I had his phone number because he was an Ybor City guy and he was security at a bar I worked at. So I ring him up. I'm like, yeah, you talked to my daughter. She said she's going to put me in jail, you know. And he told her that Florida's a state where we have what's called corporal punishment. If your dad decides to take his belt off and give you a few well-oiled smacks on your ass, he's perfectly within his right to do that. And I know your dad, he's probably not punching you out the back of the car. And so she was so angry with me, but that was the end of that argument. We just never had a conversation. And since then, she's grown up and is a woman now. And she knows I was just doing my best to protect her because that's really the way it was. You know, you have daughters and you've had a son, you know, you have kids. You just got to be their parent if you're wired right. I mean, some people out there, some people, as we know, just shouldn't have children. But it's a sad thing that anybody can have a kid, and you know they're not doing anybody a favor if they don't like having children, and they're just going to do it for some kind of a payment from social whatever they get to be on the dole. I've seen a lot of people on TV complaining about their food stamps not letting them buy sugar and shit like that. And I really don't feel bad for them. You know, it's unhealthy as hell, and why should we pay for people to eat unhealthy food? Doesn't make sense. I know some people think, you know, that's like some kind of form of Nazism, but it's not. You know, Michelle Obama spent years trying to get what was called a healthy lunch program through the schools. There's got to be a balance because kids like that slab of lunchroom lady pizza and the French fries. That's the kind of shit people grew up on. We all grew up just fine. You'd have they might give you a ham sandwich on another day, or you get that grimy meatloaf they'd have. But it's all the same stuff. It's basically healthy, but you know, trying to make kids eat better food, as long as you make it taste good. My kids grew up eating well, and they weren't picky about anything. In fact, I can't even think of anything. My mom gave me the luxury of having one thing that I could not eat. And for me, that was liver. That said, I've enjoyed chicken livers and I've enjoyed pate. But get a piece of slab of liver on a plate? No way, man. I get in this house and smell that shit. I'd be like, but I don't know. We've covered the gamut in today's show. We're going to start a show for old guys to just sit around and bitch for a while about all the things they have going on, whether they're good or bad.
I wouldn't call what we're doing bitching.
No, we're not. I'm saying we should drag a few of them in just for, we're just making observations on the state of affairs and ruminating about life's, life is great. It's so much fun shit that happens and funny things that you see. The older I get, I see shit that I used to think I'd seen it all, but every day something proves me wrong. And I've been all over the world and I've seen a lot, but every day brings a new surprise in our era. You know, when I was a high school kid, I heard that term, may you live in interesting times, as the Chinese would say. And boy, oh boy, I have lived in the interestingest times. Cuba's fallen. I'm joking. A friend of mine is a grandson of Meyer Lansky, and I've interviewed him on the show a couple times. And great guy, hardworking, bust ass, loves to make money, loves to work. He's a killer salesman. I'm talking about this guy. He is
probably shouldn't call him a killer if he was Meyer Lansky's grandson.
No, he's not. He's not like that. He's a totally legitimate guy, and it's cool. You're right, though. There was some other people that I've encountered who are allegedly mob figures, including Santo Trafficante. I played at a New Year's Eve party where he came to. The whole house was all mobbed up. I have to tell that story some other time because it's long and it's got its rather entertaining moments that I guarantee you if I tell you folks about this, it's just a side of life that I've been lucky to have seen the fringes of. And sometimes I had a camera, sometimes I didn't. But there was some definitely shady shit going on at this place, I had to tell you.
Oh, I have experienced it from a distance too, and it is fascinating.
It is. This house that was held at, the lady of the house, her husband had been up in Cleveland, I'm not going to say any names, people. Let's just say that the man of the house was no more, and his his wife, she was a hot ticket, a very interesting woman. She had bundles of 1950s gold bearing, or 1930s before Roosevelt, excuse me, gold bearing bonds. It's in money.
Oh boy.
And I got paid allegedly with some of this money and went to the bank to deposit it, pay my car payment.
Would they
And my
even
banker called me over and he's like, "Where'd you get this?" He goes, "These things have been like illegal since like 1930 or something. And their collector's value is well in excess of what you're depositing." Anyhow, I learned a few things about that. She also paid me with silver certificates, and I went and asked the bank guy and I didn't cash them in. I got rid of them other ways, allegedly. But it was pretty wild. They had a bomb shelter in the house. Let's just say that bomb shelter, you come out of there, you'd be bedraggled. Bedraggled, stinky, and just dragging ass. Come out of that thing after 6 or 7 hours down there, you'd be in a bad way. Very terrible place. I'm just a witness.
You and I need to have a discussion about this topic when we're not on the air.
Yes,
we
absolutely.
both could have some interesting conversations.
Yeah, we've had. Remember, people, we're men of the world. That's why we have. You can ask anything here. We've seen it all, man. We both grew up in the shadow of New York and been living and working in it. And peeps, this is the craziest time I've ever seen in New York, and I'm talking since the '70s when Rockefeller was the president or the mayor, and what's his face, Koch. I love Mayor Koch. He was completely out of his mind, didn't know how to do shit for running the town, but he was a good guy, and you couldn't hate on him. I mean, he's always running around. How you doing? How am I doing? Hey, it's like, you're fucking up the city. What's all that garbage and shit? Seriously, I could be the mayor of New York easily, because I'd fucking just make sure that the streets are clean, and safe. As far as the bums in the subway, I'd have them deported over to Rikers, and we're gonna have a re-education camp. Get them out there cooking, growing vegetables and shit. Give them some honest work for a few days in the hot sun.
I have no doubt that there are some things about running an enterprise like New York City that I don't understand. Because
absolutely.
But you're talking about the low-hanging fruit here. There are some things that are just common sense that you got to do,
Yeah, you can't have rioters like we've seen for the past 4 years running amok every day. That's just, to me, it's unacceptable. I'm sorry. You're right. It is a low hang. That shows how low our fucking standards have gotten that the guy who's elected now got elected. I mean, seriously, it's just it's absurd. But I'm not going to say anything, because anything I had to say, I said to everybody I knew before I voted. You get what you vote for. So I hope you're happy out there with your vote. Some of us are less than thrilled. And some people who don't live here don't realize whether the crime rate goes up or down doesn't really matter, because it's not a real number, people. It's a number that they pluck out of the arrests, and some of these arrests are just like dismissed, or an assault with a deadly weapon is down to misdemeanor. They just don't even arrest them. They don't book them. They throw them out. The real crime is not reported in a place like New York City, people. And that is a problem. If you're the mayor, this is the thing. The reason Giuliani was such a good mayor, in my opinion, and if anybody disagrees with it, fuck you. I think he did a great job, and I'm of the opinion that he put away a lot of mob people. And to be a mobster and to hunt monsters, you got to be a monster to a degree. And I think that he did a great job taking down the mob as it was. They hated him. He survived it, which is unbelievable. I am so amazed he came through that period of time without getting shot. I know that there was some situations that occurred where he nearly got, that guy had many death threats over the years. And I'm also going to say the way he was treated by the previous administration pisses me off, people. They just tried to destroy the guy with false evidence, false charges. And that, no matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, is the crux of the biscuit. because you're supposed to be a loyal opposition, people. So that's the way I see it. I hope you see it my way. If you don't, I don't believe you're going to lose any sleep tonight.
The crux of the
ocean
biscuit is the apostrophe.
Yes, the crux of the biscuit. Yeah, I like that stuff. Frank was best. I might have to just like call Dweezil up and ask him what I can get him to give me the rights to the Zappa music for a 30-second intro for the show. God knows, probably want 20 grand knowing him and Mom.
Well, Mom is gone, so you don't have to worry about Gail getting.
Oh, did she die? Oh, Gail's gone. No wonder things seem to be running smoother in Zappa land. I'm sorry.
Gail
nice.
died a few years ago, but not before screwing Dweezil and Moon seriously out of their inheritance.
Yeah. Well, Dweezil's getting his revenge. He's out. He's kicking ass. Got some people we've interviewed in his band that are amazing.
That is an amazing band. I haven't had the chance to see them recently, but the times
his marimba player, I'm just having a brain fart. Sorry, dude. I live vicariously looking. He's always
marimba. Is that cool. Sheila?
No, it's not. It's I can see his face. I've had him on a couple of times. He's a great guy, folks. I've been around the block a few times. A few circuits are a little. It's like I have to have my tubes replaced. For you young kids, tubes were used to run amps and guitar rigs, still do sometimes if they're good. Have you noticed, before we go, the trend of guitarists not using amps, just playing into their earbud, using these big...
Wow. Now, the preamps that you could get from Tech 21, the Sans amp boxes, have become so good that you really don't need to have a physical amp anymore.
Wow.
It's by choice if people use them.
Excellent. That to me is a big step forward for music, as are earbuds. I'm going to tell you guys out there, I don't know if you're a singer, though. I'm a singing drummer. And, I just get the job done. I'm not a great singer, but I know what I sing real well, and I stay in the ranges I can, and I know harmony. And I'm unfortunately blessed with really good pitch, even though I can't hear worth a shit from years of drumming. If somebody's out of key, I'll hear it, and I'm going to identify that note if we have to get the piano out, but we're going to get it right. I don't know. What was I going to say? At any rate, thank you for watching, folks. We've got 2 minutes, and since we were on 2 minutes late, we're going to get off 2 minutes early. Screw the advertisers out of 4 minutes. Think of this show, people. It's sort of like when David Letterman used to just make fun of the medium itself. And that's, I think, what made Dave such a great entertainment host. He every night, and the other reason I like Dave is he really dug drummers to the extent that he knew what kit they had. And he would talk to them and go up, and he was fascinated with drumming and Anton's kit, and he knew a lot about it. I've read several articles where drummers commented on the fact that he made them feel really good when they came in. And I think that's a really cool thing because, you never know on the TV show. You can have a great host. You can have some dick like me. Or you could have, God forbid you'd have to be stuck with Howard Stern. God, I don't even know. I want to ask him what's in his top drawer or his bottom drawer of his desk. I want to go on Howard Stern. See Howard. He's a nice bunch of fellas, that fucker. I used to kind of like him because he was so cutting edge and stuff, but as he got older, he just became like this old pervert, not that he wasn't a pervert when he was young, but it just, after a while, it lost its effectiveness as a shtick. And I'll give him credit. He's made a pile more money than I have, so he's doing something right.
Well, some of that was right place, right time. He rode the Sirius XM wagon right to the bank.
Boy, he was really, he kicked ass on that one. All right, so now, people, we're going to be out of here. I'm going to hit end stream. It's going to pop in. I'm going to seriously try to have new intro and exit by next show. So keep your hats on, people. Be safe out there, and be kind when you can. Abide when you can. And just live your life, man. Be cool, people. Stay in the studio till the outro video.